I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic Engineer Gold Mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Vermeulen from the TechnicalTraders.com. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me on the show, Jim.
Chris, your take on the markets. It seems we have 2 or 3 days down, then one big bounce up. Is this pattern going to continue?
You know, I feel as though the volatility is more or less going to continue in terms of big price range, big intraday rallies and sell-offs. Price volatility, I think, will continue to be very big, but I do feel as though overall volatility, if you look at the VIX, the fear index, I do feel as though the VIX volatility will actually fade, because I think the markets here are pretty close to putting in a bottom. If a bottom isn't put in, then we may have one more little dip here. But time-wise, with elections going on, I think there's a lot of things coming into play here, along with cycles that more or less bottomed about 4 days ago. I do have an upward bias in the market. I think stocks should continue to climb for another week or so. And then I do have a short-term downward cycle on the overall broad stock market that will pull prices down for about a week and a half or two. So I don't think we're going to see a huge V-shaped recovery on the indexes going straight up. I think we're going to see the market grind a little higher here over the next week and a half. And then I think we're going to see it kind of stall out and chop around with this big, a couple big up days, a couple big down days. It's just all over the place. I think that will continue. But I do feel quite a bit confident that I think the bottom was probably put in already a couple of days ago, and now it's just the market trying to build a little base, let the elections kind of pass, the Fed, and then I think we could be having a pretty big rally from that point forward.
Is this a case really where geopolitics is playing a bigger role in the markets than the actual markets themselves?
Yeah, I do feel as though right now, I feel as though the uncertainty and the news, those things are definitely, I think, controlling a lot of what's going on. Any big move in the market seems to be given back the next day. So it's just big waves of more or less investors not knowing what to do. They kind of move to one direction, and they get spooked. They move to the next. It's just money's kind of flowing back and forth. They're just uncertain of what's going on, and that is definitely, I think, controlling the market at this point. And that's why we kind of need to see what's going to happen with the Fed, with the election, and then it kind of gives somewhat insight looking forward a lot further. Because right now, everybody's kind of, you're blind after, by the end of next week. We don't really know what's going to happen. So investors and traders are very short-term oriented right now, just ping-ponging around, maybe trying to take advantage of these wild swings, which are great for momentum or day traders. But as a swing trader and investor, we're kind of blind after what's going to happen, a week from now, a week and a half from now. So those investors aren't really doing a whole lot. They're kind of sitting tight either in cash, which seems to be the case. We've seen a ton of selling. So investors have put money back into cash until they see what's going to happen in the next week and a half going forward.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after the break.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN AF. surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines. Aben's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abenresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, what do you see happening with crude oil right now?
Well, crude oil's it's been under a lot of pressure lately. It's been in actually a really nice downtrend. I call it a high momentum downtrend, meaning price falls and is always stuck underneath the 5-day moving average. We've seen that happen for the last more or less month and a half. And crude oil really needed to find a bottom yesterday. If it didn't find a bottom yesterday and reverse to the upside, then we're going to be breaking down, and $62 per barrel on the continuous contract would be the next major downside kind of target. And today, crude oil didn't recover. It broke down below the August lows, and we've got huge volume in crude oil. The intraday chart still looks bearish. It looks like it's on the verge of another free fall tomorrow, which should bring it down to that $62 per barrel, at which point I have both short-term and more like a position cycle timing kind of coming into play for a very significant bottom this week for crude oil. And it'll not only be oversold, but it will have cycle lows, and it'll be at a critical support level from back in March and April timeframe. So I am bearish on crude oil for the next day or two, but I do feel as though this is a washout final drop kind of bottom in crude oil before we get some bounce, probably back up into the mid-60s, maybe $68, $70 per barrel mark. So it's going to be a really exciting price action over the next couple weeks for crude oil at this key turning point.
Natural gas, do you expect it to go higher?
Well, natural gas has got, depending on the time frame you're looking at, right now, as of today, and the reversal pattern and our downward cycle, price popped up the last 3 days into a resistance falling trend line. All these things come to play with today's price action, which is a sharp reversal to the downside. To me, I'm bearish on natural gas. I think it could very easily fall to 310. Right now it's trading at about 322. And if it breaks that support around the 310, it's going all the way down to 3 before I think we find a significant pivot low there. So if you look back at the bigger picture, I am actually very bullish on natural gas, but as a swing trader looking forward 1, 2, or 3 weeks, I am bearish at this point, and I do feel as though it's going to be more under pressure than in rally mode.
Is there any factor in the overall price of natural gas that BC had a natural gas pipeline explosion, and they're expected they'll only be able to pump about 80% of the natural gas needed out this winter? Will that affect the overall price? I don't follow that too close. It could. If they can pump 80%, that's still a pretty good chunk in the grand scheme of things. So, I can't see it affecting too much, but I'm sure that news caused a blip on the chart and could have pushed things up temporarily. But overall, short-term basis, I'm still bearish on the market looking forward the next 3 days. And if we break 310 on the natural gas continuous contract, then we're going to see selling for another a couple weeks after that. So I do have a negative bias for natural gas at this point. We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after this.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp. is a Canadian-based mineral exploration project generator. The company currently holds multiple property interests in Ontario with joint venture partners and is seeking further joint venture partners for other drill-ready properties in our portfolio. For more information, please visit our website at rmroyalty.com or call me at 604-922-2030.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, what's your take on gold right now?
Well, I've really liked gold over the last about month when we've seen divergence in the market. Cycle lows have been bottoming out. Price action
has slowly gone from a downtrend in physical gold to more or less flatlining, and finally the key moving averages are starting to slope up. We're making higher highs and higher lows for gold. So I'm getting really excited about what gold, silver, and miners are doing. They're all following roughly the same type of patterns or kind of reversal in the market. So today, huge update in gold. It's up 1.75%. Silver's up 3.3%. Gold miners up almost 4%. So huge moves in the market. And this came right after we saw more or less a little bit of a pullback in a pause in gold, silver, and miners. They sold down to critical support levels, and then boom, we saw the market just rally, have a huge pop off there with big volume. And of course, the US dollar is tanking today, which is a huge catalyst that's also helping that. So it's got some power behind it. And the type of selling we've seen in the US dollar today, which is a very strong reversal, is pointing to potentially another week or two of downward bias selling in the price. And if the dollar continues to fade over the next week or two, that's going to help commodities in general. Precious metals should do really well, and crude oil should also find a little bit of a lift here and find a bottom, as it has cycle lows coming into play pretty much as of tomorrow. So I think there's a lot of really interesting things coming to play with commodities. This could be a very significant early point in the market where commodities start the big rally, because typically when we get into a frothy bull market in equities, near the end we start to see commodities and commodity stocks do very well. And we haven't seen that yet. And they've been very out of favor. No one's wanted to really play gold or precious metals, miners. And, everything is coming together that this actually might be the start of where commodities and commodity stocks start to outperform the rest of the market. And then if that's the case, then I think we're only a few months away from potentially a major bear market top in equities in general. And next year could be very ugly. Now, that's looking forward quite a ways, but that's what things look and kind of feel like they're setting up for. So it's going to be really exciting next year, 2019, for equities and trading. And it could be a very violent year for those who don't know how to hedge or protect investments or move to cash if a bear market top starts to form and it breaks down.
Any thoughts on the Canadian dollar?
The Canadian dollar, well, it's really just been kind of bottoming out really all year, or really for the last 6 months. It's just drifting around. I think a good chunk of it has to move with crude oil. If crude oil firms up here, we should see the dollar pop back up a couple more cents. But overall, it's overall it's in a long-term downtrend, and it's kind of flatlining, kind of sideways. So not a whole lot of insight in the Canadian dollar at this point. I do feel if oil puts in a bottom here, through all of October, the Canadian dollar has formed somewhat of a falling channel or a falling wedge that if we can get above 77 cents, I think we're going to see a very quick rally up to 78, maybe 78.50, which is a pretty good pop in the currency itself. But we need crude oil to really bottom out, I think, for that to take place.
Chris, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Hey, always a pleasure, Jim. Thanks for having me on the show.
My guest has been Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com. If you have any questions for Chris or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Don't forget, you can find us on YouTube at Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.